Joel Embiid officially accomplished his goal, helping Team USA secure the gold medal and officially crowning themselves as world champions. In this video, I want to acknowledge what that should mean for Joel, and why I do think this could have some implications for his impact on the Sixers team as pertains to them making a deeper playoff run. Now, I've heard a lot of different conversations about this. I've heard a lot kind of in the sticking points and thoughts that it being a little infectious, him being around these superstars, learning how to win in a way. I don't know if I buy into that fully, but I do think that there is a way that the things that he learned from this Olympic experience will translate on this Sixers team. Now, before I do that, I do want to acknowledge a little bit of just how cool it is to see Joel Embiid winning at the Olympic level. And I do think this is a great way to encapsulate it. Him being the true heel, the true villain in the eyes of the French people. And we do know kind of the talking points, the conversations here. France, of course, wanted him to be a part of their team. And if you want me to be completely honest, I do think that from a USA perspective, not only did they need him on the court, and that was quite clear in that Serbia game, but it was a massive win to get him away from the French team. Now, kind of breaking down how this went from Joel's perspective, I think I have kind of a clear-cut idea of how things went. I think it was a goal of Joel Embiid to be an Olympian. And I think playing for Cameroon, he would really have to carry that team through the qualifying in order for them to work out. And take this Olympics as an example, that did not play itself out, and that they did not qualify. So with his goal of being an Olympian, there is an accelerated process for him to become a French citizen because of him being a member of Cameroon and the history that goes there. So Joel Embiid did become a French citizen. We know that. And they did kind of accelerate the process, that they did ultimately want him to be a part of the team, and it did come with the understanding that he would represent them. Then flash forward a little farther, and most of these conversations with the French country, the president himself, and the national team, the organization overall, this happened years ago. That the receipts, the letters that they're really trying to make him look at such a bad guy on, we're talking about 4 years ago that this was the case, 3, 4, 5 years ago of all these communications. Well, this year, and much more recently, he became an American citizen. And once again, I do think Joel Embiid encapsulates the American dream more so than anybody. That he's a guy who took a chance on himself, left his home country of Cameroon, and made himself a hell of a life. That this is a guy who's made many millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars, that he married an American woman. His child is born in America. That is what it's about. And it made sense that when he became this American citizen, it made more sense to represent America than a country that he'd never really stepped foot in or lived for any extended period of time. So he ultimately elected for that to be the case, to represent the country in which his son was born, where he has made a life for himself, and that has the best basketball players, which of course he belongs on that list. And I do think it is important to honor that he did accomplish things and win gold. And why? Because especially when the Philadelphia media does not give it the proper attention here. When we're getting headlines like Joel Embiid won his Olympic gold medal by sitting back and watching Steph Curry just like everyone else. Or even comments like, Joel Embiid happy to be the heel in his rivalry with France. Maybe he'll grow up after he wins gold. I understand that you can take these angles and you're trying to be creative, find a different approach to this, but this is a layup of a good article, to promoting the good things that Joel Embiid is doing for this country, for this league, and for Team USA here, and you just missed the mark on these. So I think it is important to honor that Joel Embiid is the first ever active member of the Sixers to win an Olympic gold. That's cool, man. There's no way to look around that. That's a great thing that he's doing, that he accomplished, and I don't want it to get lost once again, that if Joel Embiid was not on this Team USA, they likely were playing in that bronze medal match. That I do think if he was not a part of that matchup for that Serbia game against Nikola Jokic, Team USA probably looking at things a little different and surely a different tone flying back from Paris right now. Now, I wanted to mention a little bit about how this translates to the Sixers. We do know that this is Joel Embiid. He is that guy. Just to pull up a bit of his stats from last year, we're talking 34.7 points per game, 11 rebounds, 5.6 assists, 1.7 blocks, and 1.2 steals. We know what he is from a statistical standpoint. And to kind of acknowledge a little bit of his growth throughout the year, you can clearly see how dominant that he has become. And we're talking about that through the years, and sorry about that there. We're seeing his growth. He hasn't scored less than 30 points per game in 3 years, since the 2020 to 21 season. We've seen his numbers grow on a yearly basis. And what I think is especially notable is the usage rate. And to pull that up specifically, in every season of his NBA career, it's been over 32%. We're talking about 36% as a rookie, 33.4% the next year, 33.3% the following, 32.9% in 2019-20, which is a career low there, 35.3%, 37.2%, 37%, and 39.6% last year. And that is where I do think the Olympics are a good experience. That he's found ways and was forced to find ways to be effective in limited opportunities. And some of the things that I do think will directly translate, what was really exciting to me was a little bit of the two-man action with Steph Curry. And I'm not talking about the two-man action the way it was the James Harden and Joel Embiid, where it's these pick-and-roll, high-level opportunities in which he's getting set up for these scoring chances. I'm talking about Joel Embiid going out of his way to create shots for others. With Steph Curry, I know this is kind of over-gassing things to an extent, but he set some of the best screens that I've seen from Joel Embiid ever in his career. And both with the IQ to be able to have the knowledge to go set those things, to create that, and obviously the big body that he is, getting set in and creating it. It's a big deal. And Steph Curry, I think, really enjoyed playing next to him. That's something that is worth noting. So I think learning that you have to play in a more reduced role, we saw guys like Jason Tatum clearly get their minutes cut because they did not figure that out. And while I think, frankly, Tatum should have played more than he did, and I do think it was a little bit disrespectful on Steve Kerr's part, although I did enjoy it, the other part of me, that is a little funny to watch him get to the top of the mountain, achieve that NBA championship, and still get handed a couple of DNPs in the process there. But the bottom line is Jason Tatum's not a guy who's figured this out either. That he's very effective in a high usage role, that he's very good as a playmaker, a super high level rebounder, but a guy that when you look at his shot diet, it's pretty consistently made up of either attacking the rim or taking those tough step back threes, which he still hits at a pretty reliable rate. For Joel Embiid, that when we think about what he does on the court, he's a guy that had to learn this, that he is most comfortable when he is facing up, taking a guy off the dribble, or taking that little mid-range after a couple jab steps in the process. But I do think Joel has learned this lesson as well. And there was a quote from him that got me particularly fired up, which he said this following the Olympics, saying, quote, That's been a great experience to learn from, Embiid told reporters after the gold medal game. When I go back to Philly, having some of my other guys, just learning how to take a step back and letting them do their thing and taking over when needed, that's been something I've gotten from this experience. And Brian Tupper continues on writing this, saying, that should be music to the ears of Sixers fans. If the Olympics taught Embiid that the Sixers didn't always need him to carry that Maxey and George can each take turns shouldering the burden as well, the team should be better off for it. And cannot agree more with this here. And to dive into what those guys bring from a statistical standpoint, we're talking about Tyrese Maxey last year at 25.9 points per game, 3.7 rebounds, 6.2 assists, and of course with Paul George also adding a new 22.6 points per game to the mix, guy who shot 41.3% from beyond the arc, and don't forget the 5.2 rebounds and 3.5 assists as well. This is the best supporting cast that we've seen in the Joel Embiid era, and it is on Joel to trust them in the same way and lean on them in the same way that will be necessary for this team to take a step forward. I mean this completely seriously, that I want to see a reduced statistical output from Joel Embiid. I don't want to see him touching on 35 points per game. I want to see Joel score under 30 points per game this year. I'm not going to be standing up declaring that he's going to have a career year because I don't want that to be the case. I want him to have a career low in usage rate this year, and I truly do think that is the next step for this Sixers team taking a step forward. Allow Tyrese Maxey to have his nights when he's feeling it. Allow Paul George, when he's feeling red hot, to go and carry the load of the offense. That will save a lot as far as physically on Joel Embiid, the wear and tear that we see throughout the season. And we know that health is still at the top of the list for what this team needs, that they will need a little bit of a lucky break to get through, both with Paul George and more notably with Joel Embiid there. And I think that the biggest step towards all of this, it is sharing the rock, that it is not so much pressure on you. I don't need to see Joel Embiid scoring through double teams on a nightly basis, which has kind of come commonplace within the Sixers team. And I do think that learning that is acceptable and necessary in the context of some teams, which I really do hope is the lesson from Team USA. That's really exciting to me. So we'll see how things go from here. Ultimately, old habits do die hard, and I think there will certainly be the nights where Joel still gets a little over-ambitious and plays a little too much hero ball. But when talk about the context of how the Sixers team can take a step forward, that's a huge lesson to take in, and one that I think Joel is being pretty upfront about, that he knows himself. So this is a two-part kind of question and answer here. That yes, the Sixers do have the best supporting cast around Joel Embiid, but that only matters if he's willing to use them as such. That we've seen a lot of the Joel Embiid hero ball throughout the years, but was that due to necessity or was that due to choice? In the past, I do think it was mostly due to necessity. That we've seen some of these second options or the lack of other reliable scoring weapons, the Tobias Harrises of the world, that had been incapable of taking step up. Mr. 0 points in Game 6 there. Now, Joel, you got to lean on him and take advantage of the weapons that you do have. So still a lot to get excited for. for this Sixers team, but I do hope Joel Embiid enjoyed that experience. I'm happy to have him representing the flag of the United States, that he accomplished that goal of winning gold there. We will see what carries over to this Sixers team, but I'm very excited for this season to get up and running. I think we're in for a wildly fun Sixers season this year, and I hope you guys are along for the ride with me. So make sure you're smashing that subscribe button if you haven't already. Drop a like on this video, and I'll be talking with you next time right here on Sixers Digest. Peace.